So there's a direct theft when a staff member steals, and then there is theft when staff members don't do the work that they charge for, right? You need to know the difference. So here's the point to keep in mind. Anything that you build great will require team members. It's impossible to build something great alone. You cannot be an army of one. As your company grows, you bring on more people, and to scale, you need people that can create and implement systems, things like SOPs, operating procedures that many of us have already heard about, but we don't have in place, and we absolutely need those. Everything cannot be done on the fly, or you don't want the intellectual property, your procedures and your know-how to be only in someone's mind. It happened to me as well, where I had an ex-business partner who intentionally did not share information with me because I thought that he was just gung-ho about taking ownership of it, but he was planning on doing things where he could move money around and control it, and I wouldn't have the know-how in order to resolve it. So that was his reason. I also had staff members who kept the information in their head for job security. Some people will help you create systems, and some people, because of their fear or their lack of self-esteem, feel like they're not as valuable unless they hoard all the information, right? So they won't help you create systems. That's a red flag. You need to get rid of those people and or get somebody in who can help create systems, because that person needs a vacation, that person won't always be available, and they will hold that against you if they have that information only in their head, right? And also having SOPs and systems is a way to keep you and them accountable. How do you know how much to pay someone without SOPs? Like, how can you really determine what needs to be fixed, what needs to be improved? You can't do that without these procedures, right? And your staff members are critical to your growth, but some can also be a huge liability. We are going to discuss how staff members can make or help you lose millions of dollars. Let's say you hire top talent and you try to pay a premium for this top talent. How do you know what you're getting? How do you know what you're paying for? People could say anything in an interview, but results are going to speak much louder. But do you really want to wait till you bring them in? You've already paid them, I don't know, $100,000, $50,000, $70,000 to realize, like, shoot, they're not even worth half of that, right? Because it's easy for a person in an interview to sell the heck out of themselves. But one thing that I think sometimes you can't find out in an interview is like a person's work ethic. You don't know that in an interview. That's even tougher to sometimes manage and monitor when they're remote. If they're sales or something like that, it's easy to market and manage that. But let's say they're a CFO, let's say they're in finance, let's say they're in accounting, or even sometimes customer service. Sometimes that can be hard to quantify. So managing remote staff is a whole nother animal, and why you would absolutely need more systems and SOPs in place. I had a remote staff member one time jump on a Zoom call for a team meeting, right? He works in customer service. He was taking calls from clients that need assistance regarding their income, just regarding their financial matters. And so I said, hey man, remember, we have all of our videos on doing all of our calls. And he turned his video on, and he was standing outside with the coat on, with a hat on. I'm like, dude, where are you at? What's going on? He was at the mechanic shop getting his tires changed on his car. I'm like, dude, how are you gonna take calls at a mechanic shop getting your tire changed with all the noise in the background? He thought that if he was in a quiet area that, it can happen, or that he would be able to do it. But you can't have any high quality customer service or anything measurable when somebody's at mechanic shop getting their tires changed. It's crazy, right? Had another person, high-end person in terms of how much they demand in payment. They showed up for a Zoom call that we had pre-scheduled, where I went and hired a consultant to come in to train them, and they were literally driving. And I'm like, wait a minute, how are you gonna go through this software training while you're driving? And she says, oh, I'll pull over. I'm like, this software is a heavy load on your computer. And she says, I can pull over in hotspot. And before I could even say that, I could see the consultant's face like, you know what, I'm done. That was a huge flag. In another instance, the same person showed up to a bank meeting and her video wasn't on. She asked everybody on the call, talking to the people at the bank, hey, guess where I am? And they said, well, where? She says, I'm at the beach, using hotspot. You're talking to a bank. Of course, they were like, oh, that's great. I don't blame you. It's a Friday. But also then go back and say to their team members and staff members and other superiors, like, this is crazy. They won't tell you necessarily. But that just goes to show you what we're talking about here. And that actually caused us to lose millions of dollars. And these staff members aren't directly stealing yet. They won't be able to do anything with quality, right? The same staff member allowed over 200 in fraud to come through that a beginner in the same position would have been able to catch in advance. Leave that alone. Don't do anything with that particular client, right? You can see the fraud, but because you're distracted, maybe you're at the cabana one day, maybe you're driving on the car another day, maybe you're watching Netflix another day, still working because you're at home and you have the freedom to work from home, the fraud ended up coming through $200,000 in losses for fraud that she could have easily caught, losing millions of dollars in potential business. And so this means, the revenue that you pay your staff, your sales reps, your vendors, and what you need to run the company is going to be affected because you have loss of income as a result of the $200,000 loss and as a result of potential business. So you got to keep this in mind that sometimes your staff members could be distracted because they're working from home. Maybe they're not working from home, they're somewhere else. And I know people say, I like to be able to work from my laptop because you're right, you can travel anywhere, you can't work from anywhere, but how focused are you? How distracted are you? Especially when you're working with numbers. And here's the thing, there's no one that can multitask properly. There's no two thoughts that can exist at the same time, right? So you can't be thinking about making love to your significant other and at the exact same time thinking about bringing harm to them. It's impossible. And so it's the same thing in business. You cannot have two thoughts at the same time. And I've seen people say, I can multitask. They're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing that. Something will end up suffering. Right? So there's no way to police or micromanage your staff, and you shouldn't have to, right? You want to have metrics and SOPs to manage and monitor everything that happens in your company. Now, if there's something in this video that impacts you in a positive way, let us know. If you disagree, let us know. If you have any ideas or any questions, share them in the comments. And if you want more of this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. This is Khaazra. Be good.